What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel, a channel 100% dedicated to the Arsenal. And, well, there was no video yesterday because I was really struggling with a bad back, feeling a bit better today, but I do have the day off, so I thought I would have a look at the top news stories as they pertain to our beloved club, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. But before I do that, just want to say a massive congratulations to Bukayo Saka on his first professional hat-trick, scoring 3 goals in our 7-0 win over North Macedonia, the Titans of European football. I think he's just shown the world what we've all known as Arsenal fans for some time, that he genuinely is a world-class player. I know that conversation is being had everywhere. Perhaps he's yet to prove himself as a world-class player, but I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. And the thing I want to say about this that relates to the rest of the video is that, whilst there are Arsenal fans out there upset that we haven't already signed or got Declan Rice over the line, or that we may have pulled out or may not have pulled out for Moses Caicedo, I think if we don't do any other business this summer at all, and that seems hugely unlikely and would be disappointing, but the best bit of business we could possibly have done is get Bukayo Saka on a long-term contract. He will be one of the world's most sought-after players at this point in time, and I cannot think of a team that wouldn't benefit from having him in there. He's played every game of our last 2 seasons. He's not only consistently excellent, but he's consistently reliable and has great character, the world at his feet. I've said before, he reminds me a lot of Rocky, and I can't think of higher praise than that. So well done, Bukayo Saka. And there was also, Robbie from AFTV talked about this. There was an emoji. There was 2 heart emojis from social media. One was red, one was white. So is that speculating a little bit too much? This is what silly season does to us. We read into absolutely everything. It's far more likely, I would imagine, that the red and white heart emojis represent the red and white of England than necessarily the red and white of Arsenal. But Declan Rice, isn't he coming? We'll see if that's one of the top news stories. Diving straight into the top news story, therefore, and this is coming up from HITC. Why Piers Morgan can't believe who Arsenal are reportedly about to sign. Piers Morgan. If there is one name that puts me off opening a story, I'm going to read. This is the top story, so I am going to read it. This is a kind of reflection of what Arsenal fans go through when we look on our phones and social media. The question is, Piers Morgan has said that he does not want Mikel Arteta's Arsenal to sign Kai Havertz from Chelsea in the summer transfer window. The well-known TV presenter and celebrity, that's his job, he's a TV presenter and a celebrity, Arsenal fan. He's a celebrity Arsenal fan, sorry. God, I hate that. If there was one... we can't transfer fans out. He doesn't feel like an Arsenal fan to me. He feels far more like a Chelsea fan. Can't we see if... they're signing up everyone. Can't we just tell him he's a winger? And honestly, it boils my blood. If there was one thing that was more likely to make me want to sign Kai Havertz, and I've done videos and I'm not massively enthusiastic about this signing either. If there's one thing that makes me want him to come to the club, is that Piers Morgan doesn't. On this, I will say I watched a fantastic video by Tifo IRL, and it forensically goes into the kind of skills and attributes that Kai Havertz has, why it may not have worked for him at Chelsea, and gives you a kind of a really good look at what Arteta might see in him. Now, I think it's fairly obvious that he wasn't part of our plan, and he may not be the kind of player that we're looking for to solve some of the problems we have at the moment. But I think it's an opportunist thing. I think Arteta genuinely sees huge ability in him and thinks that if he could, have him in the team, there's multiple areas that he can play, either alongside Jesus or... I honestly go to Tifo IRL, watch the video, see what you think. I think from all the polls I've seen, it's about a 65-35 split. It's coming towards. But what's really pleasing is that most fans, not celebrity Arsenal fans, but most fans are prepared to just trust in Arteta's judgment. He has had a really good couple of transfer windows, and I think that everyone's entitled to get it wrong sometimes. I'm not saying he's definitely going to get this one right. It is expensive as a signing relative to what we've spent before, but relative to the coming window and the future of football, it may not be a huge amount to spend. He seems to think that Kai Havertz is a bargain, and I hope it works out. But as I said, top news story today. Piers Morgan can't believe why Arsenal are signing. Piers, maybe just check out the TIFO IRL. Maybe just acknowledge the fact that you're not a football person and keep your mouth shut. God, wouldn't that be brilliant? Anyway, I've said enough about Piers Morgan for one day, for one lifetime. The next top news story, and actually this is the news story of the day, is that player has agreement with Arsenal, was in London with agent, Gunners bid still far from the club's demands. Now, just before we even get into the story, it does seem like our policy to go in and bid less than the selling club actually want, which I think is a really good thing, because if we're immediately paying what everybody wants, it means that we're overpaying. And whilst it's not my money and I don't really care about it that much, you can quickly see how teams that overspend or overreach themselves get into trouble. You only have to look at the 20 years Leeds have. And, you know, clubs like Barcelona are having now, and Chelsea indubitably will have, even though they seem to have found a loophole in selling players they don't want to Saudi Arabia. More on that later in the day. I think I'm going to do a video on that. But looking at this story, it is in fact the player has an agreement with Arsenal, was in London with the agent, Gunners bid still far from the club's demands. This was a story broken by David Ornstein, who's rapidly becoming the go-to for insight in Arsenal's transfers. He yesterday broke the story that Ajax defender Jurrien Timber, who plays predominantly as centre-back, but can also play as a right-back. Now, the Telegraph has now confirmed this, saying that sources close to the Dutch club have informed them that the Gunners have tabled an opening bid of 35 million for the defender, and is still far from the 60 million euro valuation demanded by Ajax. New Ajax manager Ornstein was told the 22-year-old would only leave for a top club. The coach was hoping to count on the player, but he's now resigned to losing him in this window. The Dutch international has a contract until 2025. Now, he's 22 years old, does indeed play centre-back or right-back. We know that Ten Hag, or Seven Hag, was really keen on bringing him to Manchester United last season, about a year ago, but Jurrien Timber turned it down. The Jurrien Timber story broken by Ornstein has now been covered by Fabrizio Romano, Robbie at AFT, the football terrorist deluded Gooner, Tom Canton on Gooner Talk. So I think there is a lot of weight behind this. Apparently he was actually in London for the FA Cup final, and is really keen on being part of the project. He makes a lot more sense than, let's say, the Kai Havertz deal, because the right back is a position. It's what let us down at the end of last season. Of course, we have Tomiyasu. I still don't have any news when he's back fit, but having a player that can play a centre-back and right-back would certainly fit in that kind of criteria of what we need. I'm still keen on João Cancelo, who of course can play right-back and left-back and would solve both problems. But this seems like look, he's 20. I've watched the highlights reel. That's what I know about Jurrien Timber. I watched the highlights reel, and look, if you're a professional footballer and you can't put together an 8-minute highlights reel, you're probably never going to be in contention to come to Arsenal. So it doesn't tell me an awful lot about him. I know that he's no longer in the Dutch national team, and he's looking to get his way back in there. Ajax obviously finished third this season behind Feyenoord, and this seems like the time for him to move on. I hope this one gets done if, again, following the same principle, if Arteta thinks he's good enough and he has the pedigree. Anyone from the Ajax Academy is technically gifted, usually versatile. And I would be really keen to see this one happen, if only just to make sure that we are preparing ourselves properly for the season ahead and any injuries that might come out of that. So that's the top story you're going to see all over the place. Came out of nowhere, like I said yesterday, late at night. And then the other story here is that Declan Rice sets deadline to complete Arsenal transfer. It's also number of sources talking about this, that Arsenal are looking to put a £90 million bid in. Lots of people talking about the Declan Rice story. There isn't really any news here. There is just the idea that Arsenal are putting together another bid. It's thought to be about 90 million. It's not that far from the valuation that West Ham want. I think this is going to get done. Certainly if this deal doesn't go through and we have a summer of talking about Declan Rice before he moves over to Man City, it will feel like a bad transfer window. But I think we're all still cautiously optimistic about this one. Kai Havertz is apparently also very close to being done, and I'm prepared to be completely wrong on that. I have said, though, that if he scores 14 goals, I will eat, in a season, I will eat my hat, this hat. I don't really want to. So I'm conflicted. But, if he helps us to win a trophy and eating this hat is part of that, yeah, let it be. Let it be so. Anyway, that's enough sitting up for me. I'm now going to go and have another lie down with an ice pack on, whilst scouring the world whilst scouring the news for anything related to Arsenal Football Club. I would love to hear your opinions. If you know anything more about Jurrien Timber, or if you have anything to add to the Piers Morgan debate, such as how we do effectively transfer him out of the club. Is there a chance that we could maybe get someone very rich in Saudi to make a bid for Piers Morgan? I certainly hope that's not impossible. Until I see you again, which will be, I think, later on today. But until I see you again, be lucky and lots of love.